Arizona. And you can hear it's a little bit noisy behind us. So we'll keep an eye on it. And if the team thinks it gets a little noisy, we'll have them shut down. But so today is really about our Look Inside series. And we've had a couple of these already where we took a look through the operations in Calgary. We took a walk through our operations in Detroit. And we won't be walking through today, but we're sitting kind of in the heart of what we have here in Arizona, which is our low voltage test facility. These monthly Look Insides are really going to be about opening our doors to you, our shareholders, and letting you know a little bit about what we do every day. So the goal is really to show you our people. So we'll talk a little bit about who's sitting beside me, to show you things that we're working on, maybe in the week that we are, or in the month that passes in between them, and to keeping our commitment to you to do these monthly. And they're always going to be live. So again, they're not super polished. And the idea is just to bring you into what we're doing and feeling. So today I'm going to flip it up a little bit, and I'm going to be the moderator, and I'm going to ask the questions, and the team is going to answer to you. And so the reason we're doing that is because I get the privilege of being the face of the company, and I get the privilege of leading everybody as we take our journey and on our mission to have minimum energy with maximum results. But really, there is a whole lot of team members that are working tirelessly to get us across the finish line. And there is people that have been here since day one with me that are working really hard to see success. And we are probably more motivated than we've ever been because we can taste and feel production right ahead of us. We can have conversations with customers, those you know and those you don't know, and know that we're minutes to days to months away from some pretty great things. So today, just to set expectations with everybody, all of these live streams are about showing you a look inside and letting you tell us more about what you want to know. So today we're going to talk to Darrel Bishop, our Chief Investment Officer. We're going to talk to Eric Hustedt. Did I say your name right? Hustedt. After 3 years. Hustedt. We're going to talk to Eric Hustedt, our Chief Technology Officer, who you all know, Darrel and Eric. And then we're going to introduce in Sarah Lee, our VP of People. And the reason for that is, you know, as I thought about things, and I get a lot of influx from shareholders, and everybody, new and old, is welcome to set up time with Darrel, myself, John, our CFO, any of us really, to find out more about the company. We want to be using our time in the right place. We want to be using our time to get through startup production. We're on track. We want to get our time to be able to launch our pilots with C Electric and Vicinity and a few more that we don't have names out on, NDAs in Brazil, and again, other NDAs and samples that we have going on. We want to share that all. We need to focus on that. But we also want to appreciate that it's all of you, our shareholders, that get us moving, that keep us going, that help us to get to where we're going. And so we want to bring you with us on that journey. So I wanted to introduce you, and I'm going to reverse it, like I said. So today we're going to ask questions that I get asked all the time. Some of them I like, some of them I don't like. I see social, so I see what everybody's saying, and you know, we're just in a really great spot. So my first question, I'm going to go to Darrel, and I'm going to say, hey, Darrel, what do you want to say to shareholders that think we didn't do a great deal or we didn't do the right deal? And before I flip it to Darrel, I'm going to say that it's a deal that I'm extremely proud of. We've got 100+ employees that are working hard, that feel the confidence that we are not going to be one of those companies that don't make it. So Darrel, can you kind of talk to our
I mean, not that was a question that you and I fielded in the last couple of weeks. I mean, it's the backdrop that we're operating in is anyone as shareholders probably don't have to tell you it's some of the most challenging backdrops that not just from an EV perspective, but a market in general. So we closed on a $35 million financing May 23rd, I think it was. And so, you know, to set the stage there, just know that every decision we make, we always sit around, and not just us, but we collaborate with our investment banking partners and say, how do we build as much value as possible from where we are today? And every decision we make is how much meat do we keep on the bone for existing shareholders and bring in new shareholders to grow the business. And so from a 250 million market cap company, US dollar perspective, you know, how do we get to a $500 million company and a $1 billion company? We know it's not just operational execution. That's sort of the backdrop. But you need to get these new institutional shareholders were migrating up from retail into sort of the small cap institutional environment. And that's the people that we had to attract with this deal. And we've done a lot of marketing, particularly over the last 6 months, for the last 12 months, in building the runway and attracting those new shareholders. And the consistent feedback has been, love what you guys are doing. You know, you're trading at a great multiple. You're executing relative to your peer group. And, you know, we think you're a good value play, but we want to see, you know, the purchase orders. We want to see the definitive agreements. And we knew that we had that in hand with Linamar. And so we used that as the springboard into our deal. So $35 million is what we closed on with the over allotment. To give you a flavor of the backdrop of the market, I mean, $35 million is not huge in the context of equity raises. It was the largest tech deal in Canada in 2023. It was the second largest deal outside of resources. So that just shows from a raising money perspective, like, holy shit, for lack of a better word, this is a tough environment, right? And we feel very fortunate to be in a position to have shareholder support to raise capital to continue to build value for shareholders. But a couple of points that I want to hit in terms of the deal. 3 points, really. First on the structure of the deal. So it's probably the cleanest deal that we've done as a company. We had Canaccord and Stifel as our co-leads. This was a common share bought deal. So we went in knowing that we had at least $30 million in our back pocket when we went live. Common share only, no more warrants or dilutive warrants. We feel very comfortable with the warrants that we have out there already. From a pricing perspective, you know, we did it at $2.25 a share. It was a 12% discount to market close. And when you look at the last 6 to 12 months of deals, they were all done between a 12% discount and a 22% discount. And many of those also had warrants. So we priced the low end of the discount to the market. And again, we did it without warrants. So 30 million base, 15% over allotment is where we get the 35. We had very strong demand. So we could have taken a lot more than the $35 million that we took. We actually had over $70 million in demand thanks to, you know, Canaccord and Stifel and how they marketed the deal. Second point, the new shareholders that we brought in. So again, to grow from 250 million market cap north, we needed to incentivize new shareholders in probably the most challenging market backdrop. We had 18 institutions participate in our deal. So not just new shareholders coming in, but strong existing shareholder support, which was also really important to us. So we got a toehold from a number of new institutional shareholders, many of which could have written a check for the entire amount. But what that signaled is we're going to take a position. We're going to continue to build our position with operational execution over time. But hey, here's $2 million. You're on our radar screen. We'd like to grow with you. And that was really important for us. Third is the strategy behind the deal launch. A lot of people saying, why didn't you announce the Linamar news, let it trade for a day or two, and then do a deal? Well, again, challenging market backdrop. If we had out the news, maybe we would have traded up 10 or 15%, and in the street totally would have smelled an equity deal. And then what do we end up in a position to do? We end up in a position to take capital and shareholders that are not accretive to our long-term value. We may have ended up with a warrant-like structure to get the deal in a very bad market. Here, what we were able to do is we wall crossed about 24 institutions. Sue and I spent pretty much 2 days of 30-minute back-to-back meetings under NDA wall crossing accounts. And we had more than a 60% hit rate on those institutions that we selected to come in as being shareholders to participate in this deal. So we have very strong shareholder support now to grow from. And that was really important for us going in, knowing that we wanted to build on existing shareholder value and bringing in new people to support our growth into the future. And so I would say, Sue, you know, bottom line, economically, we're in the strongest position we've been probably since you've joined. We're going into the second half of the year here. We're started production with this guy and Simon and others. We've got a very strong pipeline of catalysts with, as you mentioned, partners that we want to bring out of NDAs and milestones with partners that you know already. We have new research coverage from Canaccord, you know, a bit of a quid pro quo
Right.
from doing deals, and we expect more research coverage to come. So I feel great about the deal. I stand behind it, and yeah.
All right. So I'm going to say, look, I get it from a shareholder perspective. There's lots of opinions flying around and lots of really positive sentiment, just to be clear. It's not all negative. So we're getting both. And we're listening and we're hearing you, and we don't take it on deaf ears. We take a look and we think about it, and we think about, hey, this is what our shareholders are saying, and we're listening. But ultimately, I'm making the best choice for the company the way I see it. And I feel that this was the best choice for our company to get us through the balance of this year. And yes, I took a little bit safer decision, a little bit less risk. But you know what? The last few years have taught me there's a lot of unexpected that could occur in the market. So I feel great about where we are. I feel great about my ability to walk the halls at Exro and feel proud in front of our employees that we have shareholders that believe in it just like we believe in it. So I'm going to move on, and I'm going to just kind of take a segue before I ask Eric a question. So you can see in the background, I'm trying to keep my voice up. Eric, make sure you keep your voice up when you're talking. We're purposely talking in front of a loud dyno. And the reason, again, is we are doing something called Look Inside. This is Eric's real look inside. Eric is in front of these dynos probably more often than he wants to be these days. But also because I hear often, well, we didn't actually get Arizona up and running. Arizona has been up and running last year. This is what we call our low voltage facility. It's why we can sit the way we're sitting. Yes, we have full safety requirements. We have a full safety team. This is our low voltage safety all in place. In Calgary, it would look slightly different than what you've seen in the past. We've got some containers that hold our high voltage testing now. As we've progressed as Exro, we've progressed this with us. This is all happening in our day-to-day. I was up in Calgary just 2 weeks ago, walking through it with Eric and Spiros and Simon, and kind of feeling firsthand what's going on there. Our day is not sitting at a desk and just kind of plugging it all out every day. Every day is a little bit different, a little bit noisy, a little bit unbalanced. So, Eric, a couple of things I want to ask you. So the first one is, we recently had a press release where we announced 2 new patent applications. And so as I think about us, and I already think about, hey, we're kind of disrupting the status quo on energy. We have a mission to utilize minimum energy for maximum results, and we're really focused on that. We got a startup production, just ahead of us right now. How do you have time, or how do you justify going into new innovation?
Well, I mean, the new innovations are fundamentally part of the development process, right? So we're solving problems. In the process of solving those problems, we find unique solutions and unique new ideas to help us do that. And I mean, ZFGC is a great example of that, right? I mean, it's a without going into like crazy technical.
So for the shareholders, ZFGC is a term we use to talk about our harmonics motor controller.
Right. It's not just that though. It fundamentally makes motor control very simple, right? I mean, some of the things that's been bothering me from basically since I got into machines is when you look at a machine, the math in that is very simple. Because the current sine omega t, very basic stuff, and then you got field-oriented control. All of a sudden, it's pages and pages of math, where essentially what it's trying to do is predict what voltage to apply to achieve a certain current. And that gets a whole lot more complicated with non-linearities and various harmonica.
So like our Coil Driver, would that particular patent application be tied just to traction inverters?
No, so any AC.
So essentially in the years to come?
AC inverter, whether it's single phase, grid tie, whether it's motor control, anything really, 3-phase, single phase, doesn't matter.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask a question now, and again, we're not scripted here. So Eric,
Sorry.
Be careful, and don't answer if you don't know, and ask Darrel if you're not sure. And so as you think about the journey that it took us for that motor control patent application, and when you first came to me a couple of years ago and you said, I think this is something, to when you and the engineers kind of went, holy geez, look at where we are. Gosh.
It's a family-friendly thing, right?
Yeah, right. So now kind of talk to that just a little bit. Like just kind of give us how you're feeling about the next steps of working through that patent application and what that means for Exro and the shareholders.
So I'm not really sure how to answer that, but what it means is it's a new type of motor control, right? It's a new type of actually controlling an inverter in general. and it has a lot of benefits over FOC from my perspective.
Opening up new markets?
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, this is something that we would aim generically at any inverter. So it's something that applies to everything from tiny little, motors to anything really.
So as you think to the engineering team, and again, signal from the noise for everybody. We got lots of noise going on, and I hope it's not distracting anybody and it's good. So as you think about the engineering team that you've built over the last 3 years, and we're proud to have a lot of engineers that have been with us for more than 2 years now and kind of really getting years. We're kind of working our way through. What would you want our shareholders to know about your engineering team?
I mean, they're world class, basically. I mean, they're a bunch of very smart people. They work extremely hard to achieve what we need to achieve. So, yeah, very happy with my team.
Yeah. And it's a testament to Eric, because our engineers want to be here to be able to see the products that Eric envisions get to the market. And so, again, I'm going to kind of backtrack. So our recent press release, we talked about start of production. We talked about our UL certification. We talked about launching. So to our team, in Detroit that's working on helping us to launch our integrations with C and Vicinity, NDA Brazil, NDA 1, NDA 2, and a couple of more, like we said, that we haven't announced, but are kind of in that realm. What I would tell you is, Justin and our team in Detroit has it up on the hoist. I was there on Friday. So my life is a lot of travel right now. I've been all over from Boston to California to Detroit to Calgary to here. I'm heading to Europe, back to Calgary first for our shareholder update sometime early July, but I'll be up in Calgary for Stampede Week with our new board of directors for our first board meeting. I'll follow out to a trip to Europe, customers that you know in Italy like HP4, customers that you don't know that are under NDA. It's a worthwhile long trip for me. So I'm hoping to make it a very successful one. So as we think about that and we think about what Eric just said, today isn't about are we making progress? Believe me, we are making more progress than we actually thought we would be at as we sat here at the half-year mark. The reason they're all here with me in Arizona, the reason we picked today is because we're in our half-year executive team reviews. And we're looking at what have we done right? We call it our signal from our noise. How do we focus on what moves the needle for our shareholders? And we think we're making the right choices. We don't think we're perfect. We have lots of great people from our new board to advisors in our banking and capital markets world that are helping us to customers that want to have our tech in their product. But most importantly, we have great people. And it's something that we put a lot of time into. And it's something that we hear time over time over time. And these are people that are pushing us forward every single day. So the reason I asked Sarah to join us today is because as you take a look inside, we have the tech, we have the bank account, we have the leadership team that will do everything we can to get us across the line. And we're going to get there. I have no doubt we're going to hit production. Zero. As a matter of fact, we rolled our first L40 high voltage drives off our contract manufacturer this morning. So we still got more dyno testing to do. And yes, we are always dyno testing. That's a good thing. That shows our commitment to safe and reliable products. That shows our commitment to long-term. What Sarah does is handle all our people. And so I want Sarah to tell us a little bit about describing our culture.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for inviting me. People arguably are our most important asset. They're our internal clients, which are as important as our external clients. So we go out of our way to ensure that our culture is what we want it to be. So we invest a lot of time and energy in building our culture, from team building events, community type functions, our extra volunteer council. We do some fun things. We also invest back in our employees with training and development programs, travel, spending time at each location, getting to know your coworkers and what's happening in all of these facilities. And then what's also very important about our culture is ensuring that our employees have a voice. And we give a lot of avenues for our employees to have a voice. On Buds, we have 360 reviews, which is direct feedback about your leadership. Teams chats. We have 2 employee surveys a year. And I'm really proud to say that we are promoter score of over 99% for employee engagement and over 97% voted as a place to refer somebody else to work. So you would actually refer to a family or friend or coworker, a former colleague, as a place for you to come spend your time and your experience with Exro, which is very exciting.
Yeah, so 99% engagement rate. That means that 99% of our employees wanted us to hear their voice, and we acted on it, and we continue to act on it. And 97+% of our employees rated us a place to work.
Yeah.
That's really important as you look to what Eric just said about the talent that we're building in engineering, the talent that we're building in marketing, the talent that we're building in supply chain, in finance. We are resourced up. We're not one of those companies that are looking to go out and recruit a whole bunch of people to get us there.
Mm-hmm.
We have always, as I've said, we are always recruiting the right people. We always have a role for them. So I think that's a really important piece of what defines us as a successful company in your future. And so as you keep joining us for our look behind the scenes, Sarah, if you could describe a couple of words that our employees would use to describe our culture, what would you say?
Well, it's actually interesting that you asked because I just did an exercise last week where I reached out to about 12 random employees at all of our locations and said, hey, give me 3 things that you think set Exro Technologies apart from any other company you've worked for. And I would say, above all, what I keep seeing over and over and over is people. The people, the people, the people. They love the culture. They love collaboration, the honesty. Feels like everybody's marching toward the same due north. We all want the same successful things. And they just really believe in this. They're just really behind the technology and they want to be a part of that. So, yeah.
So I'm going to ask 2 more questions, and then we're probably going to tie it up for our official launch of our Look Inside. And we look forward to seeing you in July for our shareholder update. And then again, later in July for our next live stream, a look inside. And so, Eric, I'm going to go back to you for a second, and I'm going to ask you a question about, we talk a lot about how long it's taken us to get here. And we use the term de-risk. You know, our shareholders, new, old, checking us out on our website or having heard us talk to our story before, it's a term you've heard. So when we talk about de-risk, and you gave some examples to me of what it meant to be de-risked in a recent presentation that we did with a client. So talk to me about, from your perspective, what does de-risk mean for Exro?
So, yeah, I mean, so from my perspective, like the technology itself, there is no risk, right? It works. So what we're doing is now we're building products of different scale, different current, different voltage ratings. And at that point, you're essentially developing a new product, but there's no technological risk with it, right? It's like if you take a 3-phase drive or a buck converter or any kind of power electronics architecture, it'll work at 5 watts, it'll work at 100 watts, it'll work at 100 kilowatts. But every time you change that, right, you have to design a new product. And designing a new product comes with its own risk. You've got to do housing, you've got new plastics, you have to design new PCBs. There's mistakes that people make, right? We're all human. So, you know, no one thinks a buck converter is not going to work or a 3-phase drive is not going to work, but there is, you know, you do reliability testing when you're designing a 3-phase drive.
Right.
It's like for us, coil drivers, you know, the technology works, but when we go and build a new coil driver at different voltage, it's going to take some time to develop it, iron out all the kinks, and get going. So, yeah.
So when we think about, because then the next stage, okay, technology de-risked, you know, working as we want it to work. It sounds like such a simple thing, but it's 3 years of really hard work to get us there. But where we focus now is design for manufacture. So it's making sure that that technology can be realized into a product. That next step is profitability. So first revenue, second step profitability. So as we think about kind of guiding us into this next step, we call it DFM, design for manufacture. And Simon's not with us this week because he's handling the fort back in Calgary for us and making sure that we get over our milestones right now. So thanks, Simon. But as we think to that next step to DFM, what does that mean from what do shareholders, we have, you know, a bunch of engineers sitting behind us doing testing. And I'm sure some people are thinking, why are 4 people staring at a screen and what are they doing? As we get this low voltage drive ready for DFM, design for manufacture production, and like we said, it's already rolling off the line. What are kind of the key things that you think about? Look, I know I go right to reliability.
So, I mean, for me, design for manufacturing basically means that, you can design something, but at some point someone has to build it, right? So design for manufacturing is designing it in a smart way so that it's easy to manufacture, essentially, right? So you make it so it's easy to assemble, that you're not wasting a lot of money and time to do the assembly, but also to some extent designing for cost. So, you want to design the product with the minimum amount of material required to do the job that is required to do. So all of these things kind of come together to define the cost of the product. You have the technology as the first part of it, but you have to design it so it's easy to build, it's quick to build. The casting tools can be made easily and cheaply. The injection molding tools can be made.
How many years have you and Simon done design to manufacture together?
Probably close to 18 years.
Okay, so our CTO and our COO have designed and manufactured inverters for automotive for over 18 years.
Something to that effect, yeah.
So, on a different live stream, maybe we'll try a fireside chat or something where we'll talk about and we'll tell you and share the story of how Eric and I started working together because we didn't know each other before Exro.
Yeah.
But one of the things Eric said to me on one of our initial calls is, you make it in the automotive world. So automotive, everything on highway, off highway, in my perception, but automotive is, for Eric, is the big names that we know. Real automotive, high volume manufacturing. You make it there because you're thinking of your design to manufacture in your initial design stage. And that is the key. It's not just we create great technology. It's where most companies would falter. It's getting through this next kind of 90 days as we hit into production. And we're not that concerned about that next 90 days because we've been thinking about this for the last 3 years. So I'm not saying it's an easy journey for us. We got lots going on and we got lots of great people doing it, but we're pretty confident. So
I want to layer in one thing
please.
on that. It's also something that differentiates us from a lot of new tech that's coming to market and a lot of new tech from even a small cap stock perspective is, you put yourself in the shoes of some of these big automotive companies that have been around for over a century. Like, how much cool tech have they seen come and go? Right. And, we were knocking on doors 3 years ago and, now they're knocking on our door because they're like, wait a minute, you guys are not supposed to be here. How are you still here? And you've taken it all the way from proof of concept to, design to manufacture. We did what we said we were going to do 3 years ago, thanks to this guy and Simon and your leadership, Sue. And so now, where we would have been putting outbound calls 12, 24 months ago, it's pretty cool to see who's showing up on our website and who's under NDA and who'll be coming out of NDA.
I agree. I agree. So Darrel, Eric, Sarah, thank you for joining. To our shareholders, thank you for all your continued support. We wouldn't be here without you, and we are hugely and immensely appreciative of it. Thank you. But for now, we're going to go focus on moving that needle forward. We're going to get back to our noisy work. And thank you to the marketing team for hosting another great look inside. Thank you, everybody.